welcome everybody to the fourth session of Movement for Justice regarding legal awareness. Today's session will be on the Islamic law of divorce. So the session will proceed with Mr. Akmal Razvi giving a presentation over the basic Islamic law of divorce.
नहमदुहु व नुसल्ली अला रसूलिहिल करीम अम्मा बाद. We should never forget that India applies the Sharia law, and therefore the way the courts have understood the Sharia is what I have put on the first slide. It says that Muslim personal law is understood as Sharia. The word Sharia literally means a way to the watering place or a path to seek felicity and salvation. Verse 18 of the Quran says, "We put you on the right way of religion, so follow it, and follow not the whimsical desire of those who have no knowledge." Muslim personal law को आम तौर के ऊपर कोर्ट्स हिंदुस्तान में शरिया के नाम से जानते हैं. शरिया के माने हैं कि पानी पीने की जगह पे जाना या अपने आप को मग़फ़िरत के लिए और अल्लाह के लिए हाज़िरी के लिए रास्ता चुनना, उसका नाम शरिया है. कुरान कहता है कि हमने तुमको दीन के मामले में सही रास्ते पर डाला है, तो उसको फॉलो करो और अपने whimsical डिज़ायर्स को और उन लोगों को जो इल्म नहीं रखते उनके पीछे मत जाओ. आप सब जानते ही हैं कि शरिया के जो कवानीन हैं वो हुज़ूर अक़दस सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की ज़िंदगी यानी अहादीस से और कुरान की जो आयतें हैं, कुरान का जो ओवरऑल नज़रिया है, उस बुनियाद के ऊपर शरिया बना है. जो कुरान की और अहादीस की रोशनी में जो लीगल रूल्स बनाए गए हैं उसको फतवा या फ़िक़्ह कहा जाता है. तो ये बेसिकली ये हमारे कोर्ट्स की अंडरस्टैंडिंग है शरिया की, और गालिबन इस्लामिक कॉन्सेप्ट शरिया का भी यही है. Many legal rules became part of Sharia from the life and sayings of the last Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is called Hadith. Islamic scholars and jurists developed rules through legal reasoning, ijtihad, and using legal verdict or fatwa. This is how principles of Islamic jurisprudence, which is called fiqh, were developed. आप लोग सब जानते हैं कि fiqh, जैसा कि हम देख चुके हैं, is a compilation of legal principles deducted from the Holy Quran and Sunnah for implementing the Sharia. Four prominent schools of thought of Sunni Muslims are Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and Hanbali. They developed jurisprudence not to create a separate denomination, but based on knowledge or inquiry that they made. सबको ये बात याद रखनी चाहिए कि सारे हमारे इमामों ने ये साफ तौर पर कहा था कि अगर हमारी कोई फतवा या कोई चीज़ अल्लाह की किताब या हदीस के खिलाफ है तो हमारी बात को डिस्कार्ड किया जाए, उसको नहीं माना जाए. हमने पहले इससे पहले की क्लास में इसके पहले के प्रेजेंटेशन में निकाह के ताल्लुक से और शादी के ताल्लुक से बात की थी. जैसे निकाह के अंदर दोनों शौहर और बीवी को हक है कि वो दूसरे के प्याम को माने या ना माने, इसी तरह शरीयत के अंदर असल में डिवोर्स के लिए भी दोनों मर्द और ख़वातीन को उतना ही हक हासिल है. इसी डिवोर्स इज़ अ राइट फॉर बोथ मेन एंड वुमेन. We have seen in the previous presentation that in Islam marriage is a contract and it guarantees both parties rights and obligations. कुरान जो है दोनों को डिवोर्स करने का भी इक्वल हक देता है. ये आज की जो सब टॉपिक्स हैं वो ये हैं. पहली चीज़ ये है कि अल्लाह के नज़दीक तलाक अल्लाह ताला को बिल्कुल नापसंद है. जब भी मियाँ और बीवी के बीच में कुछ अनबन होती है तो कुरान का बताया हुआ तरीक़ा ये है कि दोनों तरफ से दो हाकिम हों, हकम हों, और वो कोशिश करें कि दोनों के अंदर सुलह हो जाए. फिर हम देखेंगे कि तलाक देने का सही तरीक़ा क्या है. फिर हम उसके बाद ये देखेंगे कि इद्दत के दौरान में अगर दोनों के बीच में सुलह हो जाती है तो उसके क्या क़वानीन हैं. तलाक होने के बाद अपने साबिक शौहर से शादी के क्या उसूल हैं, तलाक़ एहसन क्या है, तलाक़ हसन क्या है और तलाक़ बिद्दा क्या है, खुला के उसूल, और फिर अगर किसी ने 3 तलाक़ें दे दी हैं अपनी बीवी को, तो अगर उस शौहर को दोबारा शादी करना है तो उसके क्या उसूल। I will try and discuss the following topics. The first thing obviously is that divorce is detested by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. We will see the details of that. Whenever there is a dispute between the husband and the wife, the Quranic method is to try and bring about a reconciliation by appointing arbitrators from the husband and the wife side. Then we will try and see what is the correct way of giving a divorce. We will also see what happens if there is a chance or reconciliation when the iddat period is going on, and what are the rules governing the remarriage to the former husband. What is talaq hasan or talaq ahsan, talaq hasan and talaq bida. What's the rules and regulations regarding khula, and what are the rules if husband has divorced his wife by giving 3 talaqs. What are the conditions for the husband who gave 3 talaqs and his former wife to again marry each other. Abu Dawud hadith, I have put it up for you. It says that for Allah, divorce is the most reprehensible of all lawful things. As you all know, in Islam, what is not prohibited is permitted. But among the permitted things, Allah Ta'ala finds and says that divorce is the most reprehensible thing. Therefore, all efforts should be made to try and bring about reconciliation between the husband and the wife. For people who are influenced by the present promiscuous society, please look at what the Prophet ﷺ is said. Marry and do not go about divorcing, for God does not like men and women who keep on changing partners merely for a change of taste. Harsh words. Obviously, this is a test. We all know that we have come temporarily into this world, and this is a place where we are being tested. Allah tests us in many ways, and one of the ways is our sexual orientation. And therefore, the Prophet ﷺ made it very clear that changing partners just to enjoy other men and women is unacceptable, and the Prophet ﷺ did not like it at all. Now, we all know that we have seen in the previous session that Allah Ta'ala wants the husband and wife to live a very happy married life. But obviously, some marriages are not likely to last, and they don't last. And what happens if there is a dispute between the husband and the wife? Normal wear and tear in all married couples' life is normal, but sometimes it goes beyond the normal wear and tear, and genuine disagreements surface between the husband and the wife, and it could actually lead to a divorce. And therefore, Allah Ta'ala has ordered us in the Quran that if you fear a breach between the two, appoint an arbitrator from his people and an arbitrator from her people. If they both want to set things right, Allah will bring about reconciliation between them. Allah knows all, is well aware of everything. This very verse has been used by the Supreme Court in multiple cases to say that they have gone beyond the mandate, but they have held that any divorce, a talaq or a khula has been reconciliation in khula. The judgment is passed by the High Court of Kerala. I will come to that later. But the Supreme Court has said that any talaq given without an attempt for reconciliation is invalid. So now, after the reconciliation efforts have been done and they are not working, there are genuine disagreements between the couple, and it doesn't look like either of them is going to be happy or one of them is going to be happy. Then if it comes to it and final decision is taken that a divorce should happen, then Allah Ta'ala has prescribed the way of how a divorce should be done. It says, Quran says, O Prophet, when you divorce women, divorce them for their waiting period and compute the waiting period accurately. This is iddat. Do not turn them out of their house during the waiting period, nor should they go away. You do not know. Maybe Allah will cause something to happen to pave the way that is for reconciliation. The mandate of the Quran is extremely clear. Let me try and explain the simple procedure that the iddat period is roughly translated as the waiting period. In case of married men and women who are still undergoing their menstrual cycles, it is 3 menstrual cycles. And the iddat period prescribed even after you have pronounced the talaq is 3 menstrual cycles, except in the case of death, which is 4 months and 10 days. So Allah Ta'ala is directing both the husband and the wife. We will come to the later slide, which says that the talaq should be pronounced by the husband only when the woman is not undergoing her menses. And then he should allow the period of 90 days to pass, because within these 90 days, if there is reconciliation between them, if the husband revokes the talaq either orally or he has sexual relations with his wife, it results in the cancellation of the talaq. Divorced women shall keep themselves in waiting for 3 menstrual cycles. Should their husband desire reconciliation during this time, they are entitled to take them back into wedlock without remarriage by having sexual contact or oral revocation. For women beyond menstrual cycles, it is 3 months. In case of husband's death, it is 4 months and 10 days. Then we come to the point of remarriage to the former husbands. Again, this is the Quran. And when you have divorced women and they have fulfilled the term of their prescribed period, we have seen in the previous slide what are the prescribed period. 3 menstrual cycles in case a woman is having her menses, 3 months if she is not having her menses, 4 months, here it is not applicable. Do not prevent them from marrying their former husbands if they mutually agree on reasonable basis. Please understand that this is possible only twice. That is, a husband is allowed to have reconciliation with the woman only 2 times. But if he does it within the iddat period or the waiting period, there is no need for him to remarry. But if 90 days pass in case of women who don't have menses, or 3 menstrual cycles in case of women who have their menstrual cycles, then he has to remarry. A new nikah has to be done. This is what the Quran is saying. What happens if he pronounces it for the 3rd time? We will see in the later slide. Whereas the remarriage to the former husbands is concerned, we have the Sahih Bukhari hadith. It says that Ibn Hassan narrated Al-Hassan, the sister of Maqil, was married to a man. That man divorced her and remained away from her till her period of the iddah expired. Then he demanded for her hand in marriage, but Maqil got angry and he said he kept away from her when he could retain her. And now he demands her hand again. So Maqil agreed to marry his sister to him. When you have divorced women, then the Quranic verses were revealed. When you have divorced women and they have fulfilled the term of the prescribed period, which we have already seen. So the Prophet ordered him, and then Maqil obviously had no choice, and he willingly married his sister to the same person. There are 3 types of divorces which are recognized by Indian law. The most basic and most widely used are talaq. This is the form of divorce where the divorce is initiated by the pronouncement of talaq by the husband. Khula is a divorce at the instance of the wife. Mubarat is nothing but a mutual divorce. According to the Hanafi school of thought, there are 3 methods of giving talaq. They are Ahsan, Hasan, and Bidat. Talaq-e-Ahsan. The Ahsan form of the divorce is the one where the husband pronounces divorce or talaq on his wife during the period when she's not undergoing her menses, and he doesn't have any sexual relations with her for the next 3 cycles. This is the most preferred form, and therefore the word ahsan, which is superior. And the reason is that remarriage is possible. Please remember, I brought it to your notice, and I'll bring it to your notice again, that these 3 months, if he has a sexual relationship or he revokes the talaq, then there is no need for undergoing a fresh nikah ceremony. But if the 3 cycles or 3 months are over, then he has to propose, the woman has to accept, and they have to undergo a fresh nikah. This is the best form of talaq, and whoever is listening to me, please ensure that in case you come across any person who wants to give a talaq, this is the only form that should be recommended. A lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding is there. People are of the opinion that talaq doesn't happen until it is pronounced 3 times. It is a complete form of bidat to pronounce 3 talaqs. You have the best form, which is talaq-e-ahsan. You have to pronounce talaq once, and you have the chance of reconciliation for 3 menstrual cycles for 3 months without marrying again. And if that period is over, then remarriage is possible. बहुत सारे लोगों को यह गलत फहमी है कि तलाक देने का एक ही तरीका है, और वो ये है कि तलाक 3 बार कही जाए, लेकिन सारे मकतबे फ़िक़्ह इस बात को मानते हैं, सारे मसलकों में यही बात है कि तलाक़-ए-अहसन सबसे बेहतर तरीका है, और वो तरीका ये है कि आप जब बीवी के मेंस्ट्रुअल साइकिल नहीं चल रही है, तोहर के ज़माने में 1 मरतबा तलाक कहें, और 3 मेंस्ट्रुअल साइकिल्स या 3 महीने उनके साथ अगर आपने मुबाशरत नहीं की, तो वो तलाक आपको फिर निकाह करने की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी। अगर आपने फिर से उनके साथ मुबाशरत कर ली, या आपने उनसे ज़बानी तौर पे कह दिया कि मैं अपनी तलाक को वापस लेता हूँ, तो आपको दोबारा निकाह करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। लेकिन अगर आपने ऐसा नहीं किया, तो आपके लिए दोबारा उस औरत से शादी करने के लिए निकाह करना पड़ेगा। दूसरा तरीका है तलाक़ हसन का, नामुनासिब है, लेकिन सारे मसलक इसको मानते हैं, तो लिहाजा सुन लीजिए कि हसन तरीका यह है कि आपने तलाक दी जब माहवारी मेंसेस नहीं चल रहे हैं, और फिर अगले महीने उसी वक्त आपने दोबारा तलाक दी, और फिर तीसरे महीने में तलाक दे दी। लेकिन ये सुन लीजिए कि 1 मरतबा आपने हर महीना 1-1 तलाक दे दी, तो फिर आप उसी औरत से शादी किसी कीमत पर भी नहीं कर सकते। उसके लिए एक एक्सेप्शन है जो आखिर में आएगा, उस वक्त मैं उसके ताल्लुक से बात करूँगा। The talaq-e-hasan is another form of divorce where the husband divorces the wife by pronouncing 1 divorce in each of menstrual cycles. Not recommended. In fact, it is permitted, but absolutely not recommended, because the moment you have pronounced the 3rd time talaq, then the chance of remarrying the same woman are next to 0. Then there is the talaq-e-bidat, which is to pronounce talaq in 1 sitting. It was highly contested. There was a background to which it was permitted by Hazrat Umar Farooq radiyallahu anhu. We will not get into that because it's not that important, for the simple reason that now the Supreme Court of India has made it illegal, and in fact it has made it a criminal offense if somebody divorces 3 divorces at a time. Nasai has reported that the Prophet ﷺ was informed that a person had pronounced 3 divorces on his wife in 1 sitting. The Prophet ﷺ stood up in anger and said, "Are the people playing with the book of Allah, although I am present among you?" Seeing the Prophet's extreme anger on this occasion, a person asked, "Should I not go and kill the man?" That is how much angry the Prophet ﷺ became. But it's our misfortune that many people believe that the only way of giving talaq is to pronounce 3 talaqs, either after each month during the period of purity or in one sitting. There are 3 or 4 kinds of divorces which are at the instance of the wife. One is talaq-e-tafweez, the second is khula, the third is mubarat, and the fourth is fasakh. We will deal with all these one by one. Then we will see how best we can take it forward. Talaq-e-tafweez. According to the Muslim law, marriage is a contract. The nikah-nama is the contract between the husband and the wife. Please don't ignore it. We have got a standard format of the nikah-nama and nobody bothers to look into it. Especially the women and the women's family should have a look at the nikah-nama properly. I am telling this because it's a matter of contract, and if the girl or the girl's family want to ensure that the husband should not have another wife when the present lady is married to him, she can put a condition that if you want to bring a wife, he has to divorce this lady. So just like any other contract, the husband and the wife are free to add any terms and conditions in their contract of marriage. But please remember, it can't be against the express prohibitions or orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For instance, there can't be a condition which says that the husband or the wife will not pray 5 times a day, or will not give zakat, or will not go for hajj. What is obligatory in Islam, there can't be a contract against that. Please also understand that anybody may have the question that since it is permissible to marry multiple women, then how can that condition be there? You should always remember that marrying multiple times is not obligatory, it is permissible. And what is permissible? For that part, there can be a contract between the husband and the wife that as long as she continues to be the wife, he cannot marry any other woman. And if he wants to marry, he has to first give a divorce to her. But this will depend on the terms of the contract. And therefore, please ensure, if you are interested, to ensure that your nikah-nama is properly drafted. And if you want to include a condition, please include it at the time of marriage after discussion. Again, the Quran, as we discussed previously, the Quran has permitted people, men also to divorce their wives and women also to ask for khula. Please look into this Quranic verse. It says that if they fear that they might not be able to keep within the bounds set by Allah, there is no blame upon them for what the wife might give away of her property to become released from the marriage tie. These are the bounds set by Allah, do not transgress them. So this becomes very, very clear that just like talaq is the prerogative of the husband, khula is the prerogative of the wife. The High Court judgment of Kerala High Court, which I'm going to refer to and explain in detail, in fact now goes to the extent of saying that the woman cannot be asked to give more than what she, the woman cannot be forced to first give back the property and then divorce. It says that you first divorce her if she is asking for khula, and only after that you file a case to recover the money from the meher if you have given anything. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said that the wife of Thabit bin Qais came to the Prophet and said, "O Allah's Messenger, I do not blame Thabit for defect in his character or his religion. But I, being a Muslim, dislike to behave in an un-Islamic manner if I remain with him." On that, Allah's Messenger said to her, "Will you give back the garden which your husband has given you as meher?" She said, "Yes." Then the Prophet said, "O Thabit, accept your garden and divorce her once." So this is very clear that the woman does not have to give any reason. She simply said that I may be forced to behave in an un-Islamic manner if I remain with him. Therefore, please order a divorce. And the Prophet ﷺ orders Thabit radiallahu anhu to accept the garden that he had given her back and divorce her once. Now there is a consensus among the ulamas that what can be asked back by the husband is the meher amount and nothing more than the meher amount. The whole idea of conveying this hadith was that There's a misconception that woman has to give reasons on why she wants her divorce. Islamic law doesn't require her to give any reason. She has to simply say that she wants her divorce, and the qadi or the person has no choice but to give the divorce. Of course, attempts for reconciliation have to be made, but if they fail and if the woman doesn't want to share on why she wants her divorce, then there is no compulsion for her to give the reasons. You will see that in khula, there is no reason required to be given by the wife. Only condition is to give some compensation to her husband, that too if he demands. Ijma is that the compensation should not be more than the original meher. It amounts to talaq and can remarry the same husband if both of them agree. हमने देखा कि जैसे तलाक शौहर दे सकता है अपनी तरफ से शुरू करके और अपनी बीवी से जुदाई के लिए, उसी तरह कुरान इजाज़त देता है कि औरतें भी अगर अपने शौहर को नापसंद करती हैं और उनके साथ रहना उनको नामुमकिन नज़र आता है तो वो भी खुला ले सकती हैं। खुला लेने के लिए उनको कोई वजह बताने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। वो हदीस हमने देखी जहाँ पे साबित रज़ी अल्लाह अन्हु की बीवी प्रॉफेट सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के पास आती हैं और बताती हैं कि उनको खुला लेना है, क्योंकि वो कहती हैं कि अगर मैं इनके साथ रही तो उनके तो कैरेक्टर में कोई खामी नहीं है, लेकिन मैं इस्लामी तरीके से उनके साथ नहीं रह पाऊंगी। उन्होंने कोई ख़ास वजह नहीं बताई और उसके ऊपर हुज़ूर अक़दस सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने साबित रज़ी अल्लाह अन्हु से कहा कि भाई वो जो तुमने इनको मेहर में दिया था वो वापस ले लो और इनको तलाक दे दो। तो ये उसूल है जहाँ पे औरत को कोई वजह बताने की ज़रूरत नहीं है और शौहर किसी भी कीमत पर खुला देने से इनकार नहीं कर सकता। अगर वो इनकार करता है तो वो अल्लाह की और उसके रसूल की नाफरमानी। इस्लामिक कानून के अंदर the right to invoke khula upon a married Muslim woman is an absolute right. It is equivalent to the talaq conferred upon the married Muslim woman. The formalities for khula are as follows. There is an offer by the wife to release her from the matrimonial tie. The offer is made to the husband. The offer khula must also be accepted. Once the offer is accepted, the divorce is complete and it becomes irrevocable. Offer and acceptance may be and have to be in the same sitting. Under Muslim law, a woman unhappy with her marriage can decide to put an end to it and ask her husband to divorce her. The Kerala High Court has now said that the same rules apply in the light of the Quranic verses, which is that reconciliation attempts must be made in case of a khula too, just like it is compulsory to make an effort in the case of talaq, and which is talaq is the last word of the husband. In khula, the last word is of the wife. If a wife wants to opt out and she wants to opt for khula, the husband cannot compel her to continue to be in the marriage. The other form is mubarat. Mubarat is nothing but a form of separation which is by mutual consent. As the word mubarat indicates, it is freeing of each other from the marriage tie by a mutual agreement. No formal form is insisted upon for mubarat. The offer may come from either side. Both the parties enter into mubarat. Their obligations, marital obligations, they come to an end. It is necessary to keep a proof that there is a divorce, and therefore it is better to put it into writing and take witnesses. We come to the part of first, which is again one of the most misunderstood and a very dangerous thing that is happening in Bangalore. There are some imams or so-called ulamas claiming that they have the right to perform a first nikah. Please remember that the Indian courts have held that first is not possible by any person apart from the family courts in India, and they don't recognize first. In fact, in a case which I'm going to refer later, the alim and the wife were imprisoned by the court for 1 day. That was only because they were not aware at that point of time, but first nikah is not recognized, and in fact under the Indian law, if the woman marries somebody again, she may be guilty of bigamy. Therefore, please don't fall for the trap of first, as is being claimed by some of the people in Bangalore. It is completely illegal. and the woman is actually getting into the risk of getting behind bars. Now, as long as mutually it is agreed between the husband and the wife, a mubarat is done, or the husband gives a khula, it's all right, because this is outside the court. In the event of a Muslim woman asking for a khula and the husband refusing to give it, the only thing that is possible is for the woman to approach the family court, apply for a dissolution of marriage. And what is the dissolution of marriage? The dissolution of marriage is under something called the Dissolution of Muslim Marriage Act. The High Court of Kerala has exhaustively passed that judgment. And it's very surprising, but apparently, according to the Kerala High Court judgment, the Hanafi school was silent on divorce initiated by women, and it posed a major issue for women who wanted a divorce, because under the Hanafi law, there was no provision for a divorce initiated by the women. And therefore, the ulamas of that particular point of time requested the people who were following the Hanafi maslak to opt for divorce under the Shafi'i or the Hanbali school of thought. Therefore, but then some Hanafi scholars were of the view that once a person has opted for one maslak, he cannot change the maslak. And therefore, there was confusion. Though, in fact, today the ijma is that if there is no solution to a person's problem in one school of thought, he can approach the other school of thought. But that was because of this confusion, the government enacted the law, which is called the Dissolution of Muslim Marriage Act. The Muslim Marriage Act was explained in two judgments. On a little wrong reading of it, there is a famous case which is called the Kesi Muin case. In this case, the court, as I just pointed out, this was a case where a first nikah was done, the woman had remarried, and then a case was filed, and the judge sentenced them to imprisonment for 1 day. But that is not important. Unfortunately, he held that after the enactment of the Dissolution of Muslim Marriage Act, the only way for a divorce by a woman is under the Muslim Marriage Act and only through the court. Now, this created great difficulties, and therefore several appeals were filed in Kerala High Court, and that judgment, to the extent of having a divorce only through the court, has been set aside. Today, the judgment is very clear that first nikah is illegal, but mubarat and mutual divorce by khula is also acceptable. This is the Kesi Muin versus Nafisa case. It caused multiple problems, as I pointed out. The facts are before you. The wife had let her husband go, and she had gone to her parents' home. The husband had filed a suit for restitution of conjugal rights. The wife filed a suit in response for the dissolution of marriage. Her petition was dismissed. The wife consulted a local alim who advised her to adopt a form of divorce, which is called first, which I have explained, which is a non-judicial form of nikah. The wife can divorce from a qazi without the consent or presence of the husband. Then the court punished her by saying that first is no longer permissible, because you have to understand that previously the qazis were empowered to deal with all the marital disputes, but subsequent to the abolition of the Qazis Act or the amendment to the Qazi Act, today they are only permitted to perform nikah. They have no authority to grant a divorce against the wishes of the husband. If the husband doesn't agree, the wife has to go to the family court. The good news is that the court has said that it's a formality, and if the wife asks, the court has to ensure that the khula is granted, subject to the fulfillment of the condition that reconciliation had taken place. Efforts had taken place which have failed. Now, alhamdulillah, as I pointed out, I've given you the link to the judgment, which says that now it is possible for people to opt for a divorce outside the court. you need to remember that the Islamic law is the only law which has made divorce so easy. You are aware that because of the difficulties that people face, people don't get married at all in the Western societies. And even if they get married, they enter into a very detailed prenuptial agreement or postnuptial agreement. And therefore, they generally prefer to live as live-in partners, and they don't want to marry. Similar is the case under the Hindu law. It's the same problem. There are specified reasons for which a divorce petition can be filed, too many conditions, and a woman can divorce only under the Hindu Marriage Act. And therefore, we have been blessed to that extent. There are thousands of cases which are pending in the family courts. And if you have not visited a family court, I suggest that you should visit a family court anywhere in India. You will be appalled at the dirty linen that is washed in public, and you will be appalled at the amount of torture that the women in most cases, and in some cases men, undergo, because it's not easy to get a divorce anywhere in the world, more so in India. This is the last slide. Complete misunderstanding is there among Muslims that since a man cannot marry a woman after he has pronounced talaq 3 times, therefore many people think that there can be an arrangement with another male who will marry the woman and then divorce her so that the former husband can marry. This is actually playing with the Sharia. It is completely haram. There is no way that you can do that. The correct procedure is that the woman marries somebody of her own choice, and that person, because of disagreements, he takes a divorce from her. It is only then that the woman can marry the husband who had divorced her 3 times. The Indian government and Indian courts, you have seen the judgment of the Kerala High Court. It is still not followed in Karnataka. That judgment was passed by the Kerala High Court Division Bench. That is a judgment by 2 judges on the 9th of April 2021 this year, which has made it pretty easy for Muslim women to get divorced. They have held that there is no reason for the husband to refuse to give a divorce, for a husband to refuse to give a divorce, and they have made it pretty easy for women who want to get out of an unhappy marriage, provided reconciliation efforts are done, which have failed. And there is a real effort needed from all of us to convey the humane and the correct way of divorce. And we need to fight the tendency to break marriages at the drop of a hat. We need a proper counseling and helping people. Probably we should run classes for would-be couples, like it is mandatory in Malaysia and some other countries, some other Islamic countries, because people are getting married in India without understanding what mutual rights and obligations they have. And therefore, it's very important that we teach our children. We continue to be a patriarchal society. The sons are taught that whatever rights is, it's only the men who have it. They are taught that women are inferior, though the Islamic law is very clear that Allah Ta'ala, wherever it is in the Quran, clearly mentions that men and women are equal, except for a degree. And we all know that there is a ijma that one small degree of superiority that the men have been given is only in respect of things where husband and wife have a disagreement over a thing which is not very big. And in that case, just like there can't be 2 steering wheels in a car, somebody has to take a decision, and there, to give certainty on how things should proceed, Allah Ta'ala has given the last word to the man in things. The last word is not there for the man in case it is un-Islamic, but within Islamic things, for instance, I give the example of putting a child in a school, 2 equally good schools, both affordable, and the wife wants school A, husband wants B. If both are nearly or equally good, then the husband's word would prevail. This is to ensure that disagreements don't remain as disagreements and there is certainty on how things will proceed further. But please understand that this has nothing to do with decisions which are taken, which could be un-Islamic. If the husband says that I have the right to make a decision and insists on doing something which is illegal under the Islamic law, then of course his decision will not count. He has no superiority over the wife. I think it is very important that all of us pay extreme attention in bringing up our children who understand that women are have near equal rights like men, and in matters of marriage and divorce, unless the man learns to respect the woman and makes extra efforts and invests in the marriage is not likely to survive. It is not right for us to have a generation who doesn't understand these things, which will result in broken families, and broken families always result in crime, and crime doesn't pay. So it's very important that we have to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whether we have taught our children the right thing or not. And the right thing is to respect the person whom you are marrying or whom you are married to, and ensure that you give her the amount of dignity that every woman deserves, and treat her as your equal. With this, I end the talk. Inshallah, we'll try and take up as many questions as possible. I will try my best to answer every question that is put up.
So since we haven't received any question in the chat or otherwise, the participants here, if they want to ask any question, they can raise their hands.
I have sent email. I have sent a message.
The question is,
what
is the procedure for khula? Should a woman need to go to court for taking khula?
The Kerala High Court has said that the woman can send a letter saying that she wants to invoke khula, and the husband has no choice but to grant her khula. And if he refuses to do that, it has to be, she has to go to the court, family court, and the family court will issue a notice to the husband, and it will be treated as an uncontested case unless he is able to show that either reconciliation did not happen or there is any other valid Islamic reason for not giving the khula. Normally, khula is also, it happens in terms of mubarat, which is mutual divorce. The woman offers to separate and the husband agrees to it. There are some terms and conditions. Majorly, there are three areas of dispute. One is the amount of money. I'm talking of Indian context. This has nothing to do with the Sharia. The woman spends too much of money in the marriage, and therefore she wants some compensation because she's taking a divorce in many cases because the husband has been unfair. And therefore, it's all about mutual negotiations. And once they arrive at the negotiation, normally it results in a mubarat, which is a mutual consent divorce, where the husband agrees to pay a certain sum of money. And if they have children, visiting rights are decided, when, how, and where. And whatever gifts have been given by the husband or his relatives are returned to the husband, though it is not required by the Sharia. And whatever gifts the woman has given are returned to the woman's side. So these are the three conditions. Normally it results in mubarat, which is mutual divorce. But if it is not resulting in that and the husband refuses to give the khula, then you need to go to the family court, which will issue a notice to the husband, and the husband will come. And I am hopeful that all the high courts over a period of time will agree with the Kerala High Court judgment, and they will grant the khula to the woman without any contest.
The next question is, how about Islamic or Sharia court? What is the role played by Sharia court for khula? Which one is better, family court or Sharia court?
There is nothing called a Sharia court as far as khula is concerned against the without the husband consenting for it. Anybody who is going to an Islamic court or a Sharia court, unless it is authorized by the government, that would be illegal, and the divorce will not take place without the consent of the husband. The correct procedure is to go to the family court, and there is no other option unless you are doing it out of court, which is through the Mubarat or the Qulanama.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Akmal
Walaikum
sir,
salam.
ji, this meher concept under khula, you're saying that the woman has to give back the meher. So this sister has sent me a WhatsApp few minutes back. She wants to know what about the children. Is it the responsibility again on the woman?
Children are always the responsibility of the husband.
Husband.
It never shifts to the wife, unless the husband is not in a position to maintain the children.
Unless he's not in a position to maintain the children. Okay, and next I wanted you to just share that link, April 9th, 2021. I want you to share the link in the chat box.
It's there in the slideshow, in the slides that I have sent.
Okay, I'll just check it out. ठीक है, जज़ाकल्लाह खैर.
एक जो है more than 10 years एक husband without divorce और खुला छोड़ दिया था, तो उसको हमने एक लेटर पुलिस स्टेशन में देकर मिसिंग कंप्लेंट करके वो ये कराया था, destitute pensions, whether it is right or wrong. And another one is the what to do for compensation after divorce or khula. We have taken a lot of compensated so many ladies for that.
शरीयत के अंदर compensation का concept नहीं है. There is no concept in the Sharia of compensation. The woman, if she is taking the khula, has to return the meher if the husband demands it. Otherwise, nothing more has to be paid to the husband. Let me again repeat, that's the responsibility of maintaining the children until the boy becomes a major, and until the until the daughter is married, according to the status of the father, is entirely on the husband, even though the wife may be a millionaire. So the entire thing is absolutely clear that it has to be the husband's responsibility. Compensation is a matter of mutual agreement. It's a fact that in Indian culture, normally it's a woman who spends a large amount of money on the marriage. And if the husband is leaving her, it is only appropriate that he should compensate the woman's family for the expenses that they were forced to undergo, provided it is the fault of the husband. If it is the woman's fault, then also, of course, the husband should have a large heart and should give a reasonable compensation. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ recommended that if a person decides to divorce a woman, he should give handsome gifts, and he detested the practice of taking back gifts that were given to a woman. So that I hope answers the question. There is no Sharia rule that a woman should be compensated except for her maintenance during the period of iddat.
Assalamu alaikum.
Islam.
So I have this question. So basically, the husband, he got a Mubarat signed with the wife under an emotional duress. So she didn't want the divorce. He wanted the divorce. So he got it signed under emotional duress. She signed it thinking that he's in anger, and he said he'll give one talaq. So she thought that he will take her back. So she signed it. But the conditions of the Mubarat are actually going against her. After the iddah got over, she went to the Khadi and she actually checked it out. It's going against her. They have a daughter together, and he's taken the custody of the daughter after 7 years. Until 7 years, she's with the mother. He's agreed to pay only rupees 6,000 maintenance per month, and he is going to pay educational expenses separately. So these are the conditions now, and he has refused to give her any of the gifts that she got during the wedding. So basically, the gold that she got, from his relatives and his family, he's refusing to give that as well. So how can this condition be set right after signing the papers? can I contest for the custody? Because what if he doesn't turn up after, a few months or so, and then she is left with less maintenance, as well as, if the child doesn't want to go back to the father after 7 years, how can this problem be resolved?
What's the age of the child now?
Right now, she's 2.5.
Alhamdulillah. Okay. You see, Allah will open the doors and He will bring about a solution. Please remember that the guardianship part, he will not be able to, because the Islamic principle as well as the courts in India are extremely clear that it is the welfare of the child that matters. The courts in India will grant him custody of the child at the age of 7 years only if he can prove that the child's welfare is with him. The reasons he could use against this woman is that one, she has remarried and she is living with her husband, and they are going abroad, and they will take the child with him, or they may give the reason that the woman is of a loose character and therefore the child is not safe. Apart from these 2 or 3 major issues, the courts will most probably, in nearly 98% of the cases, they will keep the custody of the child with the mother only. As far as the gifts are concerned, once she has, you see, no court is going to believe you that you signed it under duress, and it's very, very difficult to prove in the court. The basic rule is you need to be cautious. Islamic principle is that you sign only after going through the entire thing. Very difficult, but you can take a chance that it was under duress. The third thing, as I've already told you in the presentation, is that neither, if the woman wants a divorce, can the husband object. Similarly, if the husband wants a divorce and he thinks that he cannot live with the woman, there's no point in trying to go back and say that he needs to compulsorily stay with you. I think it is below the dignity of the woman itself to insist that she wants to live with that man who doesn't want her. I think women should be very, very clear that they need to live with dignity. Allah Ta'ala doesn't like a person to live without dignity. I think it is beneath the dignity of a woman to impose herself on the husband, as it is beneath the dignity of the man to impose himself on the woman who doesn't want to stay with him. As far as the maintenance of the child is concerned, apart from educational expenses, everything that she requires according to the status of the husband has to be provided. If he is rich, he has to provide maintenance according to his financial status. Whether he is rich or poor, his financial status would decide on what kind of school she goes. He needs to pay for everything. It is not the responsibility of the woman at any cost.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. That made things clear for me.
एक खातून वो ना डाइवोर्स हो रहा है ना वो खुला दे रहा है, बल्कि उसको 10 साल से ऐसे ही लटका के था, तो पुलिस स्टेशन से मिसिंग कंप्लेंट बोल के लेटर देकर सील्ड सिग्नेचर करा के वो डेस्टिट्यूट पेंशन के लिए अप्लाई किया और डेस्टिट्यूट पेंशन भी मिल गया. Whether it is correct or not, please advise.
अगर वो शौहर का पता नहीं है तो हिंदुस्तान का कानून यह है कि if any person has not heard or seen any other person from whom he should have normally heard, then the presumption is that he is dead. तो उनके कंप्लेंट देने के बाद बेहतर यह है कि वो फैमिली कोर्ट को जाके एक ऑर्डर ले लें, कैसे कंप्लेंट दी थी मैं 7 साल से नहीं मिले हैं, तो लिहाजा प्लीज डिसॉल्व माय मैरिज करके. मुस्लिम मैरिज एक्ट में उसका प्रोविजन है. Best thing is to go to the family court, file an application and get a divorce. Regarding maintenance, inshallah, we tried to do a small poll, and people wanted to first deal with the law of maintenance under the Islamic law. Inshallah, next session will be on maintenance, and because there's a lot of misconception among Muslims, which results in women enduring a very unhappy marriage because they think that they will become a burden on their family. So therefore, we will deal with the law of maintenance, and after that, inshallah, because it concerns everybody, we will deal with simple law of properties on what precautions you should take if you want to buy a site or buy a house or rent your house or shop. Mushtaq Sahab, I think, has a question. Go ahead, Mushtaq.
वो शौहर जो है उसी एरिया में रहता है लेकिन कभी पूछकर देखता नहीं. बट वी हैव गॉट
फैमिली कोर्ट को जाके ले लेना. फैमिली कोर्ट को जाके ले लेना.
ऐसे ही लेटर देके वो डिस्ट्रीब्यूट पेंशन मिल गया.
तो अगर इनको दोबारा शादी करना है तो बेहतर यह है कि
नहीं, नॉट इन दैट. नहीं, वो सब कुछ भी नहीं. पैसे का प्रॉब्लम बस.
डिस्ट्रीब्यूट का पेंशन मिल रहा है,
हो गया, खत्म हो गया.
हाँ, ठीक है, छोड़ दीजिए उसको.
Is there any other question?
From my side, I want people to see if there's one question from Bintya Raja.
Yeah. Please, Anu.
Yeah, Akmal sir, some questions have been sent on mailbox. Zishan, have you looked into that?
I haven't received. Okay, wait.
Not now. I think so. 2 days, 3 days prior, 5 days prior. I don't know. I have informed Mushtaq Sahab also this morning that there have been some queries, and I've informed Zahoor about it. Then he said he will ask Akmal Sahab to attend. I've already spoken the matter to Akmal Sahab.
Those queries, there was a request not to discuss here, so therefore we will not discuss that here.
Okay.
I have replied to all of them.
All of them. Okay, fine.
Yes.
Are you aware of any online or offline Muslim pre-marriage or post-marriage counselor? Is there couple counseling session or people who can help couples for reconciliation for the sake of Allah, especially on priority when there is a high chance of divorce?
Most of the big Jamaats in Bangalore, whether it is Ahle Sunnatul Jamaat or Jamaat-e-Islami or Jamiatul Ulama, almost all of them have these centers where reconciliation happens. There are a lot of Muslim organizations which also help in reconciliation. We should find out. Mushtaq Sahab can give you some details. Please contact Mushtaq Sahab. He will give you some details about it.
The next question is, if husband wants to divorce her wife by pronunciation of talaq, does he need to wait for complete 3 periods to pronounce second time, or he can pronounce in a week as well? Also, does the talaq pronunciation need any wakil or gawah?
It is much better to have a witness, because ultimately talaq happens when it is properly communicated to the wife. And the wife also needs to know that she has been divorced. Therefore, it is much better to take it in writing, because the woman also to marry again. And at that point of time, there should not be a dispute that whether she has been divorced or not divorced. So it is very, very important that instead of oral pronunciation, it is taken in writing from the husband that he has divorced her. Point number one. Point number two, we have discussed in the entire slides that the only correct method is to pronounce talaq only once and allow 90 days period to pass. There is no reason to pronounce a second talaq. You are unnecessarily going against the correct method of giving a divorce. Please restrict yourself to pronouncing one talaq and waiting for 3 menstrual cycles for 3 months as the case.
The next question is, as you mentioned that child is the responsibility of husband, but when husband is not taking any responsibility, then can women take her child along, and can she claim for the maintenance whether she is working or not working?
Okay. Please, we will deal with it when we come for the maintenance, but broad answer is that even if the wife is a millionaire, the responsibility is on the husband. And if he is not maintaining, the wife should go to the court and ensure that he pays the maintenance. Unless he is not in a position to maintain because of his physical disability or because of any other reason, if he doesn't have a source of income. Otherwise, the primary responsibility of supporting the family is on the husband, because of which he is a degree above the woman.
We have a question from Khader Khan. If wife is abusive and doesn't respect the husband, and if she threatens the husband and his family of false dowry cases, how can husband deal with such a wife? As soon as you pronounce talaq, she may file a false case.
one has to be prepared to face the consequences. If you have not taken dowry and if you are not guilty, you should face it instead of remaining in an unhappy marriage. So the risks that come with because of the special condition, you have no choice but to face it. You should try your best to ensure that. But if that is not possible, there is no point in remaining in an unhappy marriage. Irrespective of the risk, you need to face the filing of the dowry harassment case. Please understand that the police normally does not arrest people because a dowry harassment case is filed. They normally refer you to conciliator to see if reconciliation is possible and counseling is possible. It's only at a late stage, if the complaint says that you have beaten her up or physically assaulted her, that they file the FIR, in which case you should take an anticipatory bail. But it is my firm belief that neither the husband nor the wife.
Another question we've received, in case of a physical assault, is there any proof needed from the wife?
Normally, because of if this High Court judgment is applied by the courts and the Supreme Court doesn't set it aside, if she wants a divorce, she gets a divorce. But to claim proper compensation under the Domestic Violence Act, she needs proof that she was assaulted. It could be an audio proof, it could be a video proof, or better to go and immediately report it to the hospital where they will raise something called a medico-legal case. It is called MLC, medico-legal case. They call the police and the police records that she has suffered a certain injury and she claims that it has been done by her husband or the husband's relatives. She should do that, yes.
Another question we've received is, in your presentation, you said that after Teen Talaq, you cannot marry the same woman again. But you also said that there is one exception.
The exception I said was that if I explained in the presentation itself, it's called a misnomer, wrong thing called halala. The actual thing is that you cannot marry the same woman if you have pronounced talaq 3 times until the woman marries somebody else. And then because of a genuine dispute between the new husband and the wife, they divorce, then you are free to propose to her. The whole idea is that there's a small background to this. The Arabs used to treat women like chattel before the advent of Islam. And they used to play around. They used to say that I have divorced you 50,000 times, 10,000 times and all that stuff. And therefore Allah Ta'ala said that a Muslim cannot be an irresponsible person. A Muslim cannot be a person who has no control over his temper and anger. And therefore Allah Ta'ala mandated that he has given you a choice only twice. You cannot complain the third time that you didn't know the law. He has made the law very clear. And the husband should be very aware of that. He should give that respect and dignity to the woman and not play with her. That he finds that the salt was more in the food and he says talaq. And then he finds that chilies was more and he pronounces one more talaq. This kind of attitude towards women is unacceptable. And therefore it's very, very strict. And you have the chance only of pronouncing a talaq the third time. After that, you cannot marry her until she voluntarily marries someone else. And because of a genuine, there is a divorce, which is very unlikely. So everybody needs to understand that after the pronouncement of the third talaq, it is near zero chance of being able to marry the same woman. Therefore, men should become very responsible and they cannot act irresponsibly.
We've got another question. There was one case where the husband pronounced single talaq, but wife went to police and filed case saying he gave triple talaq, which is banned. What is your advice to face this?
Now, most of the courts have said that it's a bailable offense. You need to take a bail and fight the case because please also know that there is a case pending in the Supreme Court where it has been challenged that in case of divorce by in any other religion, there is no such law which makes it a criminal offense. Therefore, that law is unconstitutional. We will wait for the Supreme Court order, but until then, you have no choice but to face it like any other criminal case, take bail and fight for the case.
Akmal sir, I just wanted to check with you about this Domestic Violence Act. Our women have been guided or probably misguided by sanghas and samajas and sanghas here in Bangalore. Many women fall prey going to these kind of non-Muslim organizations, and they in turn, they go and file a DV Act ke andar, they try to file a complaint against the husband. So how far do you think this is going to work? Because Sharia will not play a role in DV Act.
The Domestic Violence Act is a religion-neutral act which has been made for the protection. It has nothing to do with the religion, but one should always remember that ultimately we are answerable to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala for our actions. And any person who has knowledge that in Sharia, the wife cannot and should not take any maintenance after the period of iddah, she should not opt for the domestic violence route to harass the husband. But she should file the case to get back the compensation because of the unfair demands if unfair demands have been made, because all of us know that the husband side puts a condition that the marriage should be only in AKS or it should be in palace, and for no reason. Recovering that amount which expense has been forced on the woman, probably yes, but for the other things she should not.
Okay.
11th December, inshallah, we will deal with the very important topic on maintenance. This is not only about the wife and children, but this is about a lot of other things which the Muslims are unaware of. Inshallah, you all will be surprised at the kind of security that Islamic law provides, and you will be surprised to know that the word lawaris actually doesn't exist in the Islamic law. Inshallah, we will deal with that in the next date of presentation, which will be on 11th of December, which is maintenance of not only wife and children, but also relatives. Maintenance law under the Islamic law for wife, children, and other relatives. So we'll finish here, inshallah. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.